Welcome to Wealth Beyond the White Coat, a show where we dive deep into the world of financial freedom for dentists and medical professionals. I'm your host, Darren Flesher, a dentist with a passion for uncovering the strategies that lead to a prosperous life beyond the office. Every episode will explore the avenues of alternative investing, tax mitigation, and secrets to build wealth that the textbooks don't teach you. Whether you're looking to enhance your financial literacy, discover new investment opportunities, or simply find a better way to manage your money, this is the place where your financial health is the core of our conversations. Welcome to Wealth Beyond the White Coat, where your journey to financial clarity and freedom begins. Today on our episode of Wealth Beyond the White Coat, I'm excited to welcome in Laura Maly, one of the co-founders of the Wonderist agency, with her and her husband, Michael Anderson. They are a leading marketing agency specializing in dental practices. So with their extensive experience in the dental industry, they've helped countless dentists grow their practice through innovative and effective marketing strategies. Today, we're going to dive into the world of dental marketing, exploring what it takes to stand out in a competitive market and how to effectively reach and retain patients. So with that, welcome to the show, Laura.
Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit offline. I want to start with your exciting news. We were talking a little bit offline about what Wonderist does and what services you offer. I'd love for you to give a little bit about your background, how you guys got founded, and tell us what you guys do and what you have coming up around the corner.
Yeah, we are a full service marketing agency that works only with dentists and dental specialists. My husband and I founded the business with a $100 bill at a kitchen table, very humble beginnings. And I have so many stories there, but that's probably for a glass of wine. And we have grown steadily over the last 12 years to a place where we now have just shy, I think, of 1,000 clients nationally, 60 employees here in the Point Loma neighborhood of San Diego, which we love. And just an incredible culture that makes coming to work here a pleasure every day. We do a hybrid schedule and 2 days a week-ish. People are here and it's just a fun place to be in a world of remote work for most marketing agencies. We doubled down against the grain. In terms of services that we offer, we do everything soup to nuts, from branding to websites to ongoing services like pay-per-click, SEO, social ads and social posting. We also offer a CRM and funnels. But I think the thing that I am most excited about right now is that we are in the process of being the very first agency to have a full integration with Dentrix, Eagle, and Open, meaning the age-old question of what are you doing with my money is now answered. We can, from start to finish, follow the line of the phone call or the inquiry to the practice all the way through to the butt in the seat and assign a dollar amount to that because we are fully integrated, as I mentioned, and HIPAA compliant, which means we have access to that information. And instead of guessing, it now lays it bare in a beautiful, easy to read dashboard that I am going bananas over and would venture to say is one of the coolest things happening in dentistry right now. And our team here is very psyched about it as well.
That's awesome. And we were talking a little bit beforehand on what that allows you to do from adding value to your clients. So talk a little bit more about what that will allow you as the marketer to do, but more importantly, me as the dental practice owner, what will I get out of that integration?
Yeah, I think the most common question that we get asked, whether it's on a sales call or meeting somebody on a showroom floor, which we often do, is how do I know if it's working? How do I know how you're spending my money? How do I know if you're doing what you're doing is working? And at the end of the day, until today, it's really ended with a phone call. I can say, I drove you 50 phone calls or 100 phone calls, and there's no real way to connect that to the patient value. And so now the thing that we can do is we can reach inside your Dentrix or Eagle Open and pull that out and say, when you spend this amount of money, it gets you X amount of dollars in production. And then to go a step further, if you, for example, say, hey, you didn't close that Invisalign treatment plan I saw, I now have the opportunity to go into your practice beyond just new patient prospecting and going to the existing patient base and saying, let's drip them. Let's send them emails and nudge them and text message them and let them know, stay present, give them resources about Invisalign. Let them know the drawbacks if they choose not to make that choice. Let them know that if we have special financing happening at the end of the year, whatever it may be, it gives us options to both pull people into the practice who haven't crossed the threshold, but also nurture the people inside the practice who haven't had an opportunity, or you haven't had the opportunity to close the deal on treatment that you know they need. And so it allows us to really answer the tough question of, what are you doing for me? Because it's going to lay it bare in a beautiful dashboard for you. But it also lets us solve problems in a different way. So if we generate 50 leads or 100 leads in a month, but we don't see some of those become new patients, then the first question is, what's the call quality? And then the second question is, what does your schedule look like? How far out are you booking? Then the third question is, who's answering the phone and what does that sound like? Are you answering the phone? And it lets us solve problems on a deeper level and understand, how do we optimize this account to make sure that every person who shows intent for the practice gets in the door, gets seated, has the need conversation, and then fulfills. And interestingly, and within the DSI network, we have a client who had a new patient flow that was down for a couple of months, and we did a lot of investigating. And the thing that we really were able to narrow it down to was too extended of a greeting on the phone answering line. The phone answering system, they had changed with the change of ownership, and it was taking too long to get to the menu options. So people were opting out. And so we said, hey, I think this may be the issue. Can we make this really short and give them their options right up front? And did that change the game? Within 30 days, it was back on track. And so it lets you understand and see problems in a way that we haven't been able to solve for before, or we've just been anecdotally guessing on.
Yeah. So what I heard you say there is it allows you to do a couple things. It allows you to retarget and maybe refunnel people if they've gotten most of the way there. You got them in the door, you got them on the phone, but maybe they didn't fully complete the treatment. You can see that and you can maybe
Mhm.
see where they fell short, and through a marketing avenue, maybe retarget them. But also, sounds to me like you're a coach. You want to see your marketing process maximized. So you're willing to and now able to sit down, maybe virtually, but sit down with the client and say, here's maybe where you're tripping up. Here's where the bottlenecks are in your process. Maybe it's quality or quantity that's really keeping you from bringing in either the right volume of patients or the right type of patient. So it sounds like you guys are really more than a marketing agency to me, is what I heard there. Hey, I just want to interrupt real quick and say thanks for listening to the podcast. If you didn't know, we have an associated Facebook group also called Wealth Beyond the White Coat. Over there, you can ask your questions, get feedback from group members, and have a close community of medical professionals who are likely interested in the same things as you. Whether it's alternative investing, tax mitigation, ways to keep more of your money, or even protect your assets, we're going to discuss those things in the group. Additionally, we have a private investors club called Legacy Point. As a member, you'll get exclusive discounts to preferred vendors, and you'll get access to private investments that you'll find nowhere else. Whether it's hotels, apartments, oil and gas, equipment rental, you name it, we'll be discussing those details and offering those investments to members only inside Legacy Point Group. If you want to learn more about that, please contact me or simply email info, INFO, at legacypointgroup.com or go to the website legacypointgroup.com. And Wealth Beyond the White Coat podcast listeners get an exclusive discount if you use the code WealthBeyond. That's all caps, all together, WealthBeyond at checkout. I'd love to have you in the group, and I'd love to see you making more passive income as you move towards financial freedom, whether it's freedom to retire early, spend more time with your family, go on more vacations, or just do more of what you love while you're in the operatory. I'd love to see you doing that as part of Legacy Point. So here's to improving your financial health.
We are a marketing agency, but we also love to coach, right? Because education is ultimately the cornerstone of anybody's growth and learning. And yes, at the end of the day, we want to be able to direct our clients to the most bang for their buck, the getting the most value out of their money spent. But in addition to that, making sure it's on the procedures and the processes and the patients that they love.
All right, cool. I know we started with kind of the fun and juicy stuff for you, but I want to zoom back out and talk more generalities for a little bit here. I'm sure you probably work with some startups, but you also probably work with a lot of people who've tried other things and other companies, and obviously they're changing to you for a reason. So I'd love to hear maybe some stories of some common marketing mistakes that you've heard people make, and they come to you and you have to undo some things that they basically have to unlearn some things that they thought were true, or things that they thought would work and didn't. I'd love to hear some of the things that you've seen in the industry or amongst clients that have walked in and said, can you take this over? And you've had to maybe undo something or redirect somebody on what they're spending their dollars on. Do you have any stories around clients who might have been
I think
misappropriating funds?
I think the thing that is the most common conversation that we have that I think gets lost is you have to have something to say. You have to be interesting. And I was in a conversation yesterday and we were talking about, and this was just an internal meeting, and we were talking about if the audience isn't listening, if the team isn't listening to something, what does that mean? And I speak a lot for work. And I said, I think that means that you're not doing your job. Like, I think it means that if you want people to listen to you, you have to have a captivating message. You have to have a bit. You have to have something that they grab onto. And it's the why for them. Why should they care? Why should they listen to what you have to say? And I think everybody in the room sat back and was like, oh, yeah, it's my fault if people aren't listening to me. And so it really applies to dentistry too. I think you put your shingle out and you say, I'm open for business. And if you don't have anything interesting to say, then the guy a half a mile down the street this way or the gal a half a mile down the street this way, then you're not going to attract the kind of patient that you want. You have to create a culture. And so much of that comes from the inside. And as a business owner, as a small business owner, almost all that has to come from you, right? You have to create an infrastructure for people to hang their hat on something, to enjoy coming in, whether it's hanging your hat on technology and saying, I'm the guy or the gal in town that has all the good tech, that is taking all the CE, that is the innovator and using my 3D scanner for my 3D printer for all kinds of interesting things that nobody thought of. Or it's, hey, I'm the second or the third generation dentist in town. Everybody knows my family and I'm hanging my hat on that. Or it's, I have this insanely beautiful office that feels like an upscale home and I offer all these bells and whistles. I don't know what it is for you, but you have to find your voice and make it different than everybody else's. And I think so often it's easy to just slap a couple photos on the website and not have it embody you. This is a practice owner. I know this is a business owner. Like every piece of this business embodies who Michael and I are as human beings. It's exactly what we want it to be. And we made it that way purposefully. And that has to exude out of everything we do and everything we touch so that our team can see it, so that our clients can see it, so that our prospective clients can see and feel and touch and connect with who we are as people. And so if you're running a practice and you're evaluating your marketing or your agency and you're like, they're not doing their job, and I'm going to defend the marketing agencies for a second here. I'm going to say, you got to give them the materials. Like you got to tell them what your vision is. Cause at the end of the day, I'm not a magician. I can build off of building blocks and build you a product out of your vision. And so if you have stock images on your website, if your website looks like it's from the early 2000s, if you are not front and center in photo and video all over your website and showing off this beautiful thing you've built, then it's time for you to think on the message first. And then when you think on the message, how do you put that in the right channel? So that was a long way of me getting to the question that you're really asking, which is like, what are the follies that you see? And I think ultimately finding and putting that message in the right place is the thing that captures people's attention. And so if you have a captivating story to tell, if you have an insightful thing to say it, do it, put it in the world, birth it. And the marketing means or the marketing channel, be it PPC or SEO or your social media, tends to reflect it back to you. Does that make sense? It's me passing the buck to some extent, but it's also like letting you know that like I can make something, but you have to give me the materials first.
Yeah, if there's anything I've discovered in my almost 10 years of practice ownership now, as much as you'd love to hand something over to somebody, abdicate that thing, you really have to manage it and you really have to contribute to it. And often the thing that you thought you were avoiding by paying somebody else to do, you really do have to be engaged, both because it's really more genuine and authentic if that's how you do it, but also you just have to understand it too. Like you want to be involved and be able to give feedback and get feedback. And if it's really just handed over to somebody, there's lots of shortfalls and ways that it can come up short as far as the end result and the product. So by being in it, both in your, like you said, the contribution on the front end, but also having that engagement back and forth, I think really adds a ton of value to what you're ultimately trying to create. It's synergistic that way, but it also allows you to really understand it and give input back and forth, have a conversation versus hoping that they just hand you back this silver platter delivered thing that they can't, like you said, you can't manufacture something out of thin air. Like the practice has to be willing to put the effort forth, you take the pictures, be in the community, do all that stuff too. So I definitely hear what you're saying and have lived that myself. I would like to know On that, like, how do you help practices find and create their unique value proposition when they're trying to find what sets them apart from competitors? Do you steer them through that process? Do you hope they come in with that in their head already? Like, how do you get them to where they're eventually going to go from a here's what my practice is standpoint? Are you overwhelmed by dental school loans or practice related debt, credit cards, mortgage payments, car loans, and more? Imagine a future where your financial burdens are not just reduced, but on track to be eliminated entirely. That's what our soon to be launched solution offers: a powerful, tailored version of the Shred method designed specifically for dentists. This isn't your typical debt reduction strategy. It's a groundbreaking approach to managing cash flow, cutting down interest payments, and accelerating your journey to financial freedom. With this new method, you'll discover how to optimize your income and debt management like never before, keeping more of your hard-earned money where it belongs. Want to be among the first to take advantage of this innovative debt solution? Contact me at darren@legacypointgroup.com. That's DEREN at legacypointgroup.com to join the waiting list and stay in the loop. Your journey to a debt-free life is just around the corner. Stay tuned.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think there's oftentimes I sit in the room and they're like, Laura, I'm just a gal or I'm just a guy who's a dentist. Help me out.
Yeah.
And that happens all the time. I think when you inquire with us, you have an initial conversation, and Garrett and Forrest and Chris, who are on our business development team, they've been doing this long enough that they can oftentimes pinpoint one or two things just from an initial conversation and the things that they see people get hyped up about when they're having that initial conversation. And then from there, they'll ask questions about what does get you hyped up, doc? Like, I can have my opinion, but what's the thing that motivates you? And we have those initial conversations in that sales introduction. And then as we move into the branding process or the web process, it's part of our onboarding to do an exercise that is a workbook that has you put pen to paper, theoretically, or fingers to keyboard, and fill something out and ask some provocative and challenging questions so that we can see that. A, a lot of doctors come knowing what they want to focus on or are circling around something they want to focus on. And usually then we'll do like, we have a little workbook that we give out, and the workbook will usually really narrow it down into something really special. Or our team will oftentimes just continue to ask interesting questions and massage out what we feel like is the best point of entry for us in a market, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I want to follow that up with a couple, like a two-parter here. One is the balance of online and offline marketing. Do you see uh, value in both of those? And then relative to the online thing, video has become so important, whether it's shorts or reels or TikTok and all that kind of stuff. Like, how does that play into a marketing strategy? Do you think that's super valuable? Do you think it's just a piece of what people should do? What are you seeing as far as how that's impacting people's marketing and the ROI that they're getting on what they're doing?
Yeah, great question. I think for me, in terms of online, offline, value in both, hands down. And I think you start and you do buckshot. You do a wide approach, you decide what works and you pull it back, and then you reallocate your funds accordingly or your time accordingly. So for example, and I'm using our life, we travel a lot. We do a lot of hand-to-hand combat at events. And I'm usually the one doing that with the business development guys, but it works really well for us. And so if you're somebody who's got a good vision of how to craft a booth and how to craft a sales pitch and how to go do hand-to-hand combat with the local PTA or the swim team or the farmers market in your community, man, do I encourage you to do that. If you are someone who's in a maybe an upscale older demographic, absolutely, if you want to place implants, try direct mail, try TV. I absolutely positively embrace and admire that and know many people who we work with that do that. And we do direct mail in conjunction with MVP, who's wonderful at doing their mailing programs. And then in terms of TikTok and social and stuff, I guess this is just part of owning a business is you have to decide if you like it or not. So don't put yourself through the painful thing if you don't want to do the painful thing, but then you have to find somebody else to do it, or you have to find somebody else to or something else to offset it. So I don't prefer to, and I'm just speaking of our own business, I don't prefer to manage people anymore. It's not my strong suit. I really tried so hard for a long time. I manage a very small team of independent individual contributors here at Wonderist now. And Michael loves managing people, and he's so good at it. He's profoundly good at it. And so we have the luxury at this point now to divide and conquer. And so I manage a piece of the business that he never touches, and he manages all of the bigger portion of the people part. And that works out really well for us. And so the same principle really is something I would say for your marketing. It's don't do the painful thing if you don't want to do the painful thing, but have a plan B. So I'm on social media, but I don't enjoy making reels. And so I know that I do to some extent. Do I need to do it every day? No. But do we have some people here who do it for us when we ask them for our key events and key things? Yes, we do. Do they enjoy it? Yes, they do. Great. You ride with that. I'll tell you the vision. We'll talk about it. You come with your suggestions and you do that thing. So I think it's dueling thoughts about what you were saying earlier. If you don't pay attention to the thing, it won't grow. If you don't pay attention to the thing, it's going to take advantage of you and bite you in the rear end when you least expect it. So you have to have some ability to pay attention to all these aspects of your business as a business owner, right? Is it your process, your people, your finances, your ordering of your product for the office, your marketing, whatever aspect it is? Find the things that you're good at, continue to grow in this, but you have to have some ability to be dangerous in everything. And I guess to me, part of that applies to the marketing position too, where you're like, hey, I look at Joyce the dentist. She's just crushes on Instagram I love watching her stuff. I watch it nearly every day, but I don't want to do that because that's not fun for me. But clearly it's fun to her to some extent because she continues to do it. So if you find enjoyment out of it, absolutely pursue it. But do you have to? No. But if you don't want to, then maybe you realize you need to find another means to do it, or just expect not to get anybody from social media when your friends might be.
Okay, that wraps up part 1 of our conversation with Laura Maly from Wonderist. We covered a lot about building a strong brand and understanding the true return on investment for your marketing efforts. In part 2, we'll take a look into the tools and strategies Wonderist uses to optimize performance and grow practices, plus some real-world examples of marketing success. So stay tuned. Thanks for listening in to Wealth Beyond the White Coat, where time and attention mean a lot to us. If you found value in today's episode, please consider leaving us a review on your favorite podcast platform and share it with your colleagues and friends. Your feedback helps us grow and reach more professionals like you striving for financial freedom. Until next time, keep pushing the boundaries of your financial health. Thank you for joining us on this journey to wealth beyond the white coat.